Hello and welcome back aboard the Good Airship Hopium. I'm your wonderful host and captain, Snappydude speaking. Today we're going to be doing a community tier list. This was put up by Flim. Put Flim's YouTube page in the comments below. Flim is awesome. This is also on the announcements page on the Discord. Go check this out if it's still up. Go check out Flim's page, and we're going to do this. So I already fucked up and put Ash in D tier. I meant to put her in S tier. My brain thinks green is good, and so my brain thought green was S tier. That's a me thing. So just imagine that Ash is up here. We're already off to a bad fucking start. Jesus Christ. Also, I have part of this is because I have all the results covered up. I don't want to see the results. They're underneath the orange. I have them covered up on both my screens. It makes it a lot harder to navigate my screens. And so, because I don't want to see the community results until I'm done. And I can already tell you everything's gonna be probably a tier higher than whatever I put it at. So Beckett, I'm gonna say Beckett. She's so close to A for me. She's so close to A. But the problem with Beckett, and this is the way I see it, is Ash I'm going to put in S tier. And the reason I'm going to put Ash in S tier is Ash is incredibly versatile. Ash has a really strong, long range build. Sir Cador is incredibly useful for getting enemies engaged in fights. Ash also has a really strong close range build, which means she's extremely versatile. You can build Ash for close range or long range. You can build her for more offensive or more support role. Ash is incredibly versatile, and she's pretty easy to use for the most part. So I would consider her an S tier. Like, that's a real easy pick for me. Beckett is a lot harder, though. Beckett, in the right hands of a Beckett master like myself, I would say Beckett could easily be an A tier. Could go into the A tier. But I also think Beckett could be a B tier. And the reason I think that is because I don't think Beckett is easy to pick up and play. Beckett is not always easy to pick up and do well with. She doesn't have quite the explosive damage that Mozu has. She doesn't have the guaranteed defense of some of the other characters. Her jetpack is great for escaping, but it is also very technical in a lot of ways. You have to be smart. You have to know the map, and it makes it kind of. I want to give her B tier, and I know they're going to give her like A tier or S tier in the thing. I know it. I just know it. I'm going to give her B tier. And everybody's going to be like, oh, why'd you get Beckett? You like Beckett so much. Why'd you put Beckett in the A tier, in the B tier when she belongs in the A tier? I just can't. Like, to me, Beckett is like she's good. She's solid. She would be like low A, high B. But we're gonna put her in B. Man, see, this is the thing. Is because I try to think like, what is the most average character in Gigantic, and I base my list around that. So, like, B is, like, the most average, middle-of-the-range character. And I think Beckett's probably a little bit higher than that, but I don't think she's quite, like, A. I really hope Ash is the only thing I put in D, just on accident. Charnock, see, this is what I'm talking about. Because playing a lot of games of Rush now, and I've played a lot of games of Rush, most of the Becketts I play with are very middle of the road. They're getting, like 20k, like your average good Beckett I'm running into is like 20k damage. I'm running into a few that are better, but most of them aren't getting like super high scores. They aren't getting a lot of kills. They aren't getting a lot of damage. But Charnox, man, I've ran into a lot of really good Charnox. And a lot of this is based off of me playing a lot of Rush since it came back, so it's going to be skewed. I haven't played nearly as much Clash, so it's harder for me to know how these characters are shaken down in Clash, and I know that plays a little bit different. Like, Charnot's got some problems. Like, he's not perfect. But he can do so much damage. Like, I see so many matches where the match ends, and Charnock is like, he's up there in damage. Not always kills, but damage. Man, I'm going to hate my list. I can already tell, because I feel like I'm pressured because I'm on camera. Man. Do I give him the A? Or do I give him the B? I'm going to say he's B. And here's the reason why. Charnock can do some cool damage, but he's also kind of tricky because of how his primary attack works. And he's also got kind of low mobility. I'm going to put him in B. Ezrein, we're going to put in C tier. I just think Ezrein's bottom of the pack. If we're talking about long range DPS, he's just bottom of the pack. He's fun to use. If you get good with him, he's good. Granny, we're also going to go C tier. Granny can be great in the right game. You put her in the right game against the right opposing team comp. When both team comps kind of favor Granny, when you have like a team that really keeps pressure off of her, and you have an enemy team that just isn't focusing on her, she can be great, and she's a great source of just screwing up the enemy. Gosh, HK. We're gonna put HK in A tier. HK is just, all his moves are really basic. They're really easy to use. I almost actually probably would have put, actually if I could go back, I'd probably put HK maybe in S tier. HK is really easy to use. He's got really basic to understand moves. His moves aren't like some crazy complicated thing. They're pretty basic in how they play off each other. I think your average shooter player could probably come in and understand how to play an HK without much confusion in the way, like some other characters have some confusing abilities and such. I don't think HK has that. He's very easy to pick up. He's very easy to play. He does high damage. He's very tanky. As far as the ranged DPS characters go, yeah, I'm comfortable giving him an A. Yeah, Amani, we're gonna go. How did S tier is D again? This is where I was going. I was going towards the green one. No, we're gonna Amani's S. Amani just says in the right hand. Like, here's the thing, and this is where it kind of gets confusing because I give Beckett a lower mark because I don't see a lot of people play good as Beckett. And it's kind of the same thing with Amani. But the problem is I don't see nearly as many people in general play Amani. Like, it's very few people. Like, every now and then I see somebody, like, maybe testing her out and they're doing a shitty job. But then you see her and somebody just comes in and they just dominate. And they just change the course of the match. And I don't ever see that with Beckett. I think that's why I'm going to give her that. Kajir, man, this is when I know I'm going to get wrong. Because I haven't played against a lot of Kajirs. And a lot of the Kajirs I've played against have just been bad. And that's going to skew this. Because I know I've heard some people say, like, oh, I think Kajir is overpowered. Yeah, let's do it. Let's put him in A. Nasus, we're probably going to go B. Like I said, my whole thing is going to... I don't think that the game is that unbalanced. Margrave, he's the tankiest tank we have right now as far as frontliner tanks. I'm going to give him an A just for that. He does what he does, and he does it very well. Mozu, I'm also going to give an A. And the reason I'm going to give Mozu an A is because I think Mozu has extremely high damage. Mozu is also extremely easy to use. It's a very similar situation to HK. And it's very easy to pick up and play Mozu. To pick up and play Mozu at a really high level, maybe not. But to pick up and play Mozu, at least relatively well, is not hard. Mozu isn't as strong as she has been in different builds of the game. But she's still, her damage is just insane. Her health isn't great, but she has defensive options. She has probably one of the best mobility spells in the game with her dimensional door and her ability to teleport. It's so much better than Beckett's jetpack. It's not as good as dimensional door used to be. That is one of my like buffs debuffs. That is one of like the nerfs that stings the hardest in this game for me as a Mozu main, is just how much they nerfed dimension door back in the old days. But Mozu is still really good. You can still do amazing with Mozu. Some great defensive options with her barriers, and just it's so easy to stack up damage with Mozu, and teleporting away is such a better option than anything else in the game. It's so easy to confuse enemies with that. It's so easy to get away compared to something like the jetpack, where it really takes knowing the map and knowing how to get away. a lot more seriously. Also, you can swap in those options to buff your damage when you teleport, and that is huge. That is a pretty big buff. And if you know you're teleporting into a situation you're probably going to win, like finishing off an enemy, it's great to just teleport in and just lay down the damage and just take people out. So Mozu, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Oru, ooh, this is hard. Oru's another one like Beckett. Like Beckett, Oru, and Charnock. Like a lot of these ranged DPS, they're so close to being A for me. Like Oru's got a lot of like synergy with his moves. A lot of his moves play off one another. You need to hit somebody with this move and then activate this move to really draw out the full potential of Oru. And for that reason, even though I think he's a good character, see, this is really hard for me because I'm not just going on who I think is good, but I'm going on if there's a degree of technicality to the character. That can hold them back a little bit for me because it's also based on how good the character is, but the character's only as good as the players. And if the average Oru player I'm running into is middle of the pack, I do run into some occasional like fantastic Oru players. I have to put him middle of the pack because I don't think a lot of players fully understand how to draw out the full potential of Oru. When you run into somebody that does, they're a fucking nightmare. And they're probably A. Sometimes I would even argue almost S tier. But I'm gonna go B, man. I'm gonna go B. I'm gonna go B on like everything. Everybody's gonna be like, why does Snappy only pick B's? Paco, B again. We're gonna go B. I just don't, Paco's pretty average. Ramsey, man, he's good. But then I think, how does Ramsey stack against other options in the assassin line? Like, if I had a really good Ramsey, or like a really good Wu, or like a really good Kajir, or like a really good Taito, who would I rather have? It's a very confusing thing. I just don't see a lot of people playing Ramsey, and if I do, they're not playing him well. And this is really hard for me because I just haven't played that many Ramsey since the game came back out, and all of them have, I don't want to say universally, been terrible, but man, I'm gonna put this, and then somebody's gonna be like, I play against good Ramses all the time. I'm gonna give Ramsey A tier. I'm okay with that. Roland is such a hit or miss character, man. I think I'm going to put him in B. Because here's the thing. I either run into people that play Roland and they do absolutely dog shit. They're the worst fucking people in the lobby. Or I run into these motherfuckers who are like, the first time I ever ran into Ramsey, I was playing with Gerhard, or stream regular Gerhard, aka Nitrobite, and we ran into this Ramsey who the man bounced around the screen like a goddamn pinball. He was left, he was right, he was using the grappling hook and dodge, and just, he was all over the place. That man was untouchable, and his damage was so high. He just murdered everybody else and carried his entire team. I forget what his kills were. They were insane. The match ended super quick. I think it's on stream somewhere. And the match ended super quick. We had no kills. His team had no kills. He carried the entire game on his back. He was insane. And I either run into people like that with Ramsey, or I run into people that just do dog shit. There's no in between. And because of that, I'm going to say B. Because, man, depending on the day and who I've been playing with, I would say C. And then there's other days I play against really good Ramseys, and I'm like, here. So I'm going to say B. I'm going to say B. Rucker's about the same. He's a B. Rucker, I see a lot of Ruckers that, like, they're really good at surviving. They stay alive. And I guess that's the point of a tank, right? But I don't see a lot of Ruckers that can do anything else. And that's the difference between him and, I think, Margrave. I've met some Margraves that will fuck you up, that really, when you see them jump into a fight, you kind of get scared. And I don't ever have that with Rucker. Most of the time, it's just get out of his way and you're fine. Sven, easy S tier. Sven is always S tier. Timon, always S tier. I don't need to explain those, right? Like, everybody knows Sven and Timon are like S tier, right? Sven is just annoying. He's a strange potato of a man, and I don't like him. I don't enjoy him. And he's S tier. T-Mont, T-Mont is T-Mont, you know. She's slightly less broken than she used to be. Trip. I know there are people that are going to tell me that I'm wrong for this, and I'm going to put Trip in A tier. And people are going to be like, Trip's not that good. She's not as good as she used to be. Or she's not that good. Blah, blah, blah. Like, she's easy to counter once you know how to do it. She's still so good. She's still so good. Her damage is so good. She's so fast. She's so good at getting in and out of situations and just popping off a shit ton of damage. And it's just fucking annoying. Especially for somebody like me who plays a lot of ranged DPS. A good Trip who knows how to focus on the annoying ranged DPS characters on the other team, aka me, is fucking annoying as shit. If the Trip on the other team is playing right, it makes my life as a ranged DPS annoying as hell. Because anytime I stop to do my job and do damage, there's a Trip there and she's murdering me. And then I have to run away or reposition, and it's just really annoying. Especially when my team, like the more frontline characters, are trying to get on the objective, or trying to push into the objective. They don't have time to fall back and save my ass. I have to save my own ass. And yeah, Trip is... We're going to put Trip in A tier. Taito, we're going to go with B tier. And that's because I don't see Taito in the right hands. Like in Nitro Bite. A good buddy Nitro Bite. A tier every time. Sometimes even S tier. But I think on average, I think people struggle more to play Taito than they do Trip. Trip's a little bit more straightforward. She's got invisibility. She's got her ins and her... She's got just high damage moves and stuff like that. A lot of Taito's moves are more movement based, and that makes them a little bit trickier for your average player. And I think that holds back your average player. And that means the characters hold back. I stand by this. Like, character tier lists tend to change based on to me, really on, again, how players are using these characters. If a character is really good, but only a very limited amount of people can use them in that way, that kind of drags them down at least a little bit in my mind. And that can put them as, like Taito's one of those I could probably put, like, with Charnock and Rutger and... Like, these four here, literally, just these four. Even Oru I could probably throw in there. Like, very close to A tier. Vadasi... Man, there's part of me that wants to say Vadasi is like a C. And there's part of me that wants to say Vadasi is like a B. And... C? B? We're going to go B. I think if Vadasi had a little bit more stamina, Vadasi would be an A, like an A for me. Voden, we're going to go B. Wu. You know, I'm going to say this, and I don't think I've said this since the game came back out. Wu doesn't feel nearly as annoying in this build of the game. I don't know what it is, because back in the day, I remember you ran into almost no Woos, but when you did, they were almost always like somebody that was just insanely good with Woo. They'd spend the whole time trying to cliff you with their tongue. They'd find whatever weird part of the map had a cliff, and they would just camp by it, or they'd just show up there anytime you were there, and they would just jump off, grab you with their tongue, and then they'd jump back on. It was just insane, and it was annoying. Woo just doesn't feel as... I just haven't played against that many good Woo players. I'm gonna say B. Zenobia. I want to go S, baby. She's got those sweet tentacles. Oh, Zenobia. I am a Zenobia simp. Let's see. Shit. Oh man. Zenobia is one of the best at what she does. She's the best at what she does. Sounds like fucking Wolverine. She's very good at debuffing. She's really... She can hold her own against almost anybody in a solo fight when you get good with her. Her mobility holds her back, though, for me. I just can't put her at A tier, knowing her mobility is such garbage. But in other ways, she's like really strong, and I like her a lot. But she's just, if you find yourself in a bad situation with Zenobia, if you don't get out before the bad situation starts, you are fucked. Um, there is no escape button on Zenobia. You get out, you pre-plan to escape, or you're fucked. So we're gonna go B. Zandora, I'm gonna say C, just because I don't see that many Zandoras. Played with a great Zandora the other night on stream. Fantastic. But in my personal opinion, just overall, I just don't. Ash should not be down there. Ash should be up in S tier. Mozu is really close to S tier for me, by the way. I don't know if I said that, but I still feel that way. Mozu is just so easy to use. It's very basic. You just take Mozu and you just point her in a direction and you click her basic attack. And there's a little bit more intricacy as you get better with her, but she's very, very easy to pick up and play. And she's very, very easy for like a new character. If you want to play for the first time and you want to get into the game and you just want to do some damage and you just want something there's not a lot of complexity. All you really need to learn is her basic attack and her teleport, and you got 99% of what you need to go into an average match and do at least okay. Then you start throwing on things like a tractor beam and her barrier, and you start worrying about her buffs and stuff like that. But really, all you need to know that right trigger, and you need to know the teleport, right bumper, whatever the fuck it is, and you got her. So let's go look at the community results. Oh, look, I must have moved the screen slightly. Total results. Okay, so what did I do? Okay, so Rutgers up in S tier. Taito's up in S tier for the community. Again, I knew this was going to happen. Zenobia's up in S tier. Man, I just don't think Zenobia's up in S tier. As long as you're smart about how you handle Zenobia in a situation. Okay, so Sven I 100% agree with. Rutger, he's annoying, but I just don't think he's that annoying. Like, he's hard to kill sometimes. He can kind of be up in your face. He's got good durability, but he just, I don't know. He's very good at defensively tanking, but he's great at, like, if you have a good Rutger who knows, like, where to put his wall up and when to put his wall up, he can, like, guarantee some kills for you and stuff. But I don't see Rutgers a lot of times getting a lot of as far as like kills and damage and like pushing people around the map. A lot of times Rutger's just like and I guess that's what he's supposed to be, but I don't know. He like I said, to me he's like right here. He's like bottom A, he's top B. Like here's the average crowd down here, and then everybody else. Let's look at this. So then we have T-Mod. Of course, T-Mod, Ash, Taito. I can't put Taito up here because he's so player driven on his skill. He is either the best or the worst. There's nobody in between. It's the same with Roland. Like they're both so skill based. They're both very technical to use. Amani's easy. Anybody who has ever played any sniper in any game, you just stand back as far as you can, get out your scope, and you shoot people. I'm not saying there's not more intricacies to some of these characters, but it's insane to me. But there is a degree of ease to use to Amani. Same with T-Mont. Again, very, very easy use. And that's kind of why I almost put Mozu up in here. Mozu is so much, like if I was going to pick, if you told me you have to put Mozu or you have to put Zenobia in S tier, it'd be Mozu every time. Mozu's damage is insane. It is so easy to get super high damage with Mozu. It is so easy to just be an absolute annoyance. If you are a Mozu and you even just remotely know, hey, I'm a glass can, I need to stand back just a little bit, and just you know what, let's get rid of the orange so I can see votes on these. Landslide S tier. Pretty landslide S tier. Landslide S tier. Not as close to S tier as not quite a landslide for Ash. But Taito, not quite a landslide either. Again, Ash is really, or Taito is really good. I easily understand how anybody would put Taito in A tier, and he is like right there. If there was like an A minus tier, that's probably where I would put Taito. And is technically, because I look at them basically like, if I saw an average random person select that when I got into a game, how worried would I be that they're going to do good with them? And I kind of worry a lot of times with Taito, because you get some people just like assassins and they're kind of hard to be good with. Oh man, let's see. So I understand that, but I can completely understand A. A is completely acceptable to me. I get A. A's an easy sell. Kajir, not surprising. Is that more of a... Yeah, it's a little bit more of a landslide than Taito was, and that doesn't surprise me. Imani should be more of a landslide than this. Zenobia, the fact that Zenobia has Zenobia probably has the most mixed stats I've seen so far. She's got 41% on S. She's got 32 on A and 19 on B, which might be the highest B of any of these. Oh, Taito's got a 21% B. Taito also has kind of a mixed bag here. But I don't think Taito's number of votes for C are quite as high. Zenobia has... Oh, never mind. Yeah. Zenobia and Taito, I guess, are pretty close in that they're pretty evenly distributed between S, A, and B. Like I said, if I had to pick between Zenobia or Mozu to be an S tier, it would be Mozu every fucking time. Because Zenobia is great if you're good with her, but she is so hard to be good with. She also really struggles in like 2v1s and stuff like that. Like she just does not have her mobility sucks. Her stamina sucks. It's very hard to dodge or run away from situations with Zenobia. If you have a good team around you, Zenobia can be a monster, but she's very hard to be good with, and depending on the situation, that difficulty can spike drastically. Let's go down here. Let's look at this. So A tier, like I said, Beckett, Mozu, A tier every time for me. A tier 57%, 25% B tier. Like I said, to me, look, the community puts nobody in D tier. And see, I think this is the difference between me and the community, is that, like, I think me and most people, I think, is I move all these tiers down one. Like, if you moved all these tiers down one, for the most part, that's pretty close to where I put everybody, right? Like, not 100%, but, like, I'm just more, like, I don't think the gap between this A and B group is that big, most of the time. Like, I think everybody's pretty close to B, and B is where everybody should be in B, in my opinion. Like, in a perfectly balanced game, everybody should be in B. And I don't think anybody is super, like, besides a few exceptions like Sven and Imani and like Tiamat and Ash. I don't think anybody is super far off that. Like some definitely a little bit better. Some definitely a little bit worse. But I don't think anybody is super far off B. Like, not like brokenly. Besides the people in S tier. But no, I mean, this isn't like, if you change like this to A and this to B and this to C, you'd be pretty close to how I put the rankings. I mean, it's not super far off. But Beckett, that's about what I would expect. About half A, half B from people. Mozu, basically about the same as Beckett, but with a little bit more A tier, and that makes sense. Margrave is an A tier, of course. Like I said, he should be A tier. He is. He is the best tank. I still stand by that. Our HK. I'm really surprised there aren't more HK votes for S tier. I really am. I thought there would be. And I'm surprised so many people put him down at B. Again, he's kind of like Mozu. I don't think HK is difficult to pick up and start learning and kind of understand the flow of, and all his moves are kind of basic. And he's tanky enough that despite the fact that he doesn't have like a great he doesn't have like a teleport, which would be weird for a robot. But he doesn't have a teleport, but he can still get away pretty good because he's pretty tanky. Oru, 52 in A. And like I said, Oru, like pretty much this whole top row, anybody that I didn't have in A tier was very, very close to being an A tier for me. Wu, I put in B tier. Again, I think I put Wu in B tier. Let's see. Trip, though. Trip, 51. And then the next one is S tier at 26% and B tier at 19%. So again, I think this is probably a good balance where she ended up in A. There's some people think she's really good. Some people think she's kind of average. Yeah. Kind of the same with Wu. I think Wu's stats aren't quite as high in the S. Like I said, I haven't seen anybody really just dominate me with Wu since the game came back out. Paco is very close to ending up in B tier. Oh my god. But that would feel right. I still think Paco's kind of B tier. He kind of Paco's a weird role, right? Like he's not tanky enough to be a tank. He's not like burst damagey enough to be an assassin. He's kind of like in between an assassin and a tank. Like he's the brawler, right? Like, and he's got some good moves. Like he's got some good mobility with his moves that enhance his speed and his like slow effects and stuff with his freeze. You know, it's fun. Let's look at Ramsey. Look at his cute little pig nose. S tier, 29%. Damn, that's really high. Is that higher than... It is higher than Trip's S tier votes. As far as percentage-wise. B tier. And again, you know, like, it's just, you know, about half there, you know. A is kind of right in the middle. So that's probably right. It's probably right. Let's look at Gnosis. I'm surprised as many people vote Gnosis as being an S as they have. I feel like those are probably all the Gnosis mains in the community. 57% B tier. Just landslide for a B tier. Charnock is pretty close to an A tier. Definitely leaning B tier, but could have very easily slid the other direction into A tier. And I feel like his mobility is probably what holds him back for a lot of people. Again, that I just like you can't, and that's one of the big complaints I see about Charnock over and over again when I talk to people about Charnock is mobility and his ability to escape situations. But it's infinitely better than Zenobia's, and yet Zenobia's up in S tier. So, you know, go figure. I hate being the fact that I'm basically a Zenobia main. Like I play 3 characters basically evenly, and there's Zenobia, Beckett, and Mozu. And I'm the one that's like shitting on Zenobia. I'm like, she's my tentacle mommy, but I don't think she deserves S tier. I just don't. I think she deserves A. You put her in A, and if this poll said A, I'd be totally fine with it. I'd be like, I think it's a little high, but it's fine. She's maybe low A, high B. But, you know, I just don't think S. I don't. Voden, landslide into the B. Vadasi is basically a landslide into B. I mean, she's got a decent amount in A and a decent amount in C, but yeah. Granny is B or C. Oh, man, Granny almost ended up in C. Look at that. There's 7% there. Oh, that's tough. That's tough. Not surprising, though. I was honestly surprised she was... I loaded this page, I was surprised to see her up here in B. Ezrein, Zendora down here. Like I said, not surprising. Ezrein's kind of tricky to do good damage with out of all the ranged DPS characters. Zendora is also another one tricky to play with because her kit is so broad. She covers such a broad spectrum. She's very much a support sort of brawler character. And where Paco's like a tanky brawler, she's like more of a support brawler. She covers kind of a wider range of roles. And it's I think it's to her detriment. It makes her
she's not really super great at anything, but she can be pretty good at everything if you play her right. But that doesn't like I mean, kind of close to B, but definitely slanting towards the bottom of the pack. So that makes sense. Compared to my 1D, which is Ash. I mean, and like I said, Ash, definitely I would have put her in S had I not accidentally clicked the wrong button. Uh, but man, yeah, I don't know. Not a bad list. But up here in S, I just want to go through the S's one more time. Sven is a 100% landslide, 74%. 69% for Rutgers. So I guess the community just generally thinks Rutgers really good. I think he's solid. Like, I think he's solid. He gets played a lot. But I don't ever have that, like, outside of him just living through fucking everything, which is the role of a tank. I just don't see him doing anything else that's that annoying as a tank. Like, he's not putting down damage. He's not pressuring me away. He's just standing there and kind of sponging stuff. And a lot of times, if I can help it, I just don't focus on him. I'll just focus on the people he's trying to defend. But he's got some good moves. I can understand Rucker being here. I don't 100% agree with it. A tier for me is probably where I would put him. Where did I put him? Probably B. But I probably, if I had to go back, I'd probably put him in A. I don't think he's quite as good as Margrave. I think I'd rather have a Margrave on my team than a Rutger, but landslide. I'm surprised this isn't actually as much of a landslide as I thought it would be. These are both like 70%, and T-Mot is only like, she got 28% A, which is a lot higher A than I thought she would be. Ash, again, I can kind of see why people would think Ash is an A. I just think Ash kind of does what Zandora does. She covers a very wide range of roles, and she does it very well. But overall, like, Kajir's kind of a slide. But otherwise, you kind of start getting where these A and these S bars are kind of a lot closer to even, and Monty's not quite as much of a landslide as I thought she would be. Kajir's probably the next closest thing to a landslide, but these first three are definitely huge landslides. And then everybody else after that, it's a little bit closer. Kajir's probably the next closest to a landslide on here. Anyway, that was my tier list. Like I said, I'll post Flim's YouTube channel in the thing below. Check out this tier list. I think it has a time limit. I think it's almost done. Yeah, it ends in 10 hours and 41 minutes. So I don't know. Maybe you won't get to do it, but if you do, cool. Have fun with it.